Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tardis Zone Talks. How are you all doing? I hope you are doing well. Obviously, over the last couple of weeks and days, I've noticed the media are starting their usual tricks, like they did during the Jodie Whittaker era. Now, we had a journalist out there. Now, I haven't featured that article at all in this video because, you know, the magazine is so up itself that they actually tried to have me channel removed. But the journalist of that magazine that wrote an original article about how Doctor Who fans were a bunch of sexists and all of this other nonsense, and how the backlash was unjustified because the Chibnall era was less PC than 80s Doctor Who, apparently. Right? So I remember I did a stream on that particular article. First of all, I did a slideshow video, as I always do, with my own opinions were added to that while I was showing the article for everybody to read. They weren't happy with that, and they told me that if I removed the video, all would be well, and if I was to do the video properly, they'd have no issue with it. So that was fine. We took down the video as requested. And then I did a live stream. And of course, I left the link to the article in the link description, which you're supposed to do. During each paragraph or sentence that I thought was relevant, we stopped and I gave my opinion, and I gave you guys in the chat an opportunity to have your say. Of course, the journalist wasn't happy with me because I obviously called the journalist a plonker for writing such an article, and I criticised the magazine for the way they were treating fans. And obviously, they didn't like me for that, so they attempted to take down the channel in collusion with someone on Twitter. Won't mention his name, but you all know who he is. He's the same bloke that went to Diva magazine as well to basically call me a liar about me information that I was receiving, even though I never said any of this was fact. I said it was rumor, speculation. They colluded together to try have me channel taken down, and it never transpired. I won the appeal, and all is well, as you know. So why am I bringing this up again? Why am I talking about the toxic fandom? Now, while we're just going to... I just want to make this point clear. While we're just going to focus primarily on the Doctor Who fandom, let me tell you a little something about the media, right? Just very quickly and very briefly, right? Anybody that has a different opinion to the small minority out there, whether it's got to do with climate change, the vaccine, Donald Trump, Biden, it doesn't matter what the topic of conversation is, gender, politics, all of that, right? The media will come out and say it's right-wing, it's extremist, it's bigots, it's sexist, and all of this. So I want to make it clear that all the media play this game, but we're going to focus on what was going on in the Doctor Who fandom, because I think fans need to be reminded of actually how bad the media were. So I have screenshots of a pile of articles that I'm going to showcase tonight. Now, I have left the journalists who wrote such articles out of it. I have censored the names because we're in an age now where you have to be very careful. It might be perceived as me going after the media. This is not me going after the media. This is me exposing the media narrative and why fans like myself are harassed and bullied and abused for the last 5 years, right? This all started with the media, and then, of course, the activists jumped on board, agreed with the media, obviously, and then we got the shitstorm that we got the last 5 years. So I will be featuring articles from 2017 onwards, and then I will finish with the very last article, which will be from the Mary Sue. I've left that one to last because this article was only written last year, and some of us actually reacted to it in a rather funny manner because the way the article was framed, you think like a crime was committed. But we'll leave the Mary Sue article until the last. The articles that will feature, some you will know and some you will not know. I was even surprised to find some of these. I don't know where they came from. You might hear Ted in the background with a plastic bottle. Unfortunately, he's gotten hold of a plastic bottle there, and he's a bit bored because Mammy is inside sorting out all our makeup and all of that stuff. As you know, our missus do. They like to have everything nice and neat and tidy and stuff. So that's what Whitehead is like he is. But let's see. We've got a couple of people in the chat there, so let's give a couple of shout outs there. So we got JWC Reviews, and John Jack Rabbit says, "Hey, no, sorry, I haven't been around recently. It's okay, mate. It's okay." That was the Escapist article. I think it was indeed. And we've got Scottish Stavros and friends wrestle with pop culture in the chat as well. And USS Cutting, the BBC killed their own golden goose show. Well, I wouldn't say it's dead yet. But let's get into this because, as I said, I think fans need to be reminded of who set the narrative and why fans like myself and others out there were abused for the last 5 years. So, of course, it all kicked off when BBC announced, we got the announcement that Jodie Whittaker was going to be the next Doctor. And, of course, there was a backlash. Now, Stephen Moffat did try to gaslight and say there wasn't a backlash. There actually was a backlash, and nobody will deny that there was a backlash. I think Stephen Moffat was trying to unfan the flames at the time, and I don't blame him for trying to do that. But let's not gaslight. Absolutely, there was a backlash. Now, the media have framed the backlash as a sexist thing, right? The media have never taken into consideration why do fans have the opinions that they have. But they wanted to set a narrative that this was a bunch of sexist bigots and we shouldn't listen to sexist bigots. They didn't understand that some fans had genuine concerns with a female doctor, considering that the doctor was male for over half a century. To change that narrative overnight, right? All of a sudden, just out of nowhere, was always going to cause a backlash. And again, as I said in the early days when Jodie was first announced, I even said it, she'll be under more scrutiny than any of our male predecessors. And that was true, and that was the case. But that's what happened. What happens when you cast someone in the role that fans don't believe should be in the role, because it changes the narrative of the show and changes the direction of the show. But let's remind you of some of these article headlines. I have them all down. I have them all on my messenger there, so they're easy to access. We were going to start earlier, but I wanted to get everything ready for this stream and do it properly. And I do have an announcement to make at the end of this stream as well. So stay tuned for that, because I've got a bit of news for you guys. Don't worry, it's not anything bad. It's something that's happening with the channel. I won't be going into too much details. I won't be in there. You will see what I mean when I talk about it. But let's start off with the very first one. Now, I tried to put these. You'll get to see them all anyway. Right? So the first one is from, obviously, our favorite media outlet, Digital Shill. So here is the first article there, and I will obviously, for the purpose of this stream, I will give it full screen. So as you can see there, Jodie Whittaker says she can't even begin to debate sexist Doctor Who critics. I don't play a gender. Right? Now, these were the very first articles to come out, and it set this narrative straight away, and Jodie Whittaker herself fed into that narrative. So, you know, while our supporters or our stands will say, you know, Jodie's being unfairly treated, actually, she's not being unfairly treated. She helped fan the flames of this rubbish that Doctor Who fans out there that were against the female Doctor were all sexist, right? I am not going to sit here and say that sexists don't exist and racists don't exist. Of course they do. But the way the media tried to make it out that this was an epidemic in fandoms and in society, and it is not actually an epidemic. It always has been and always will be a small minority of fans and people out there in society. And yes, they should be called out and they should be punished, because we don't tolerate that sort of nonsense, right? So when the fans out there say that she's completely innocent, she's not. And remember, she did follow this up then with a stylist video where she mocked fans who were giving out about her casting, which we're not going to bring up because obviously that was Jodie Whittaker herself. We want to look at it from the media point of view. But I wanted to start with this because Jodie Whittaker isn't as innocent as everybody makes her out to be. She played a big part and a big role in this narrative, and it caused a lot of heartache, and it caused an awful lot of people to have mental health breakdowns and stuff, and it was absolutely disgusting. Now, I haven't featured articles from the usual suspects in the fandom that do articles like the Time Ladies and all, when they were doing articles for Radio Times and all that. We forget about that rubbish, forget about them. They're irrelevant. We're talking about the wider media, actual journalists, well, who are supposed to be journalists, not wannabe journalists, of course. But let's continue to the next one, which is this one. BBC face furious sexist backlash after announcing Jodie Whittaker as the first female Doctors. Whovians have threatened to stop watching the show in protest. And in fairness to those Whovians, they did. They did. It started off with 12 point whatever it was overall, right? So we'll just say 13, be generous, 13 million. And then it ended up with 2 million watching the last episode, right? So 10 or 11 million fans and the general public tuned out, right? But again, you could see, and this was from the Mirror newspaper, who eventually, just like most of the media, except for Digital Spy and people like that, turned on the BBC eventually and called it for what it was. But again, media setting up this narrative, right? And this is what, and by the way, why am I doing this video? Well, I'll tell you why I'm doing this video, because this is a precursor to what's to come from the media, right? Now, while a lot of us are happy and excited to see Ncuti Gatwa perform as the Doctor, I have seen some racist comments out there, I'm not going to lie, but the media will blow it out of proportion and they'll say that Doctor Who Whovians are a bunch of racists. So this is why I'm doing this stream. I want you to see what the media are capable of and how they twist things, okay? Because they're going to want to try set up, and they're already trying, right? Because Escapist magazine, that journalist, he put up an article that had to do with the Jodie Whittaker era, but then tried to link it to Millie and Shooty because of the backlash that some fans, because some fans have criticised both Shooty and Millie. As I said, it's a small minority of fans, but the media will set up that it's all the fans. It's a certain type of fan, you know, as they always do. Here's the next one. Sexist Doctor Who haters just deserve our scorn. They need it. Now, this article was only found actually last year by a lot of us, and I actually tagged this journalist, and I says, so you're actually saying that fans deserve to be bullied? Because that's what this is what I'm trying to tell you. Sexist Doctor Who haters don't just deserve our scorn, they need it. So he's literally telling the reader out there, right? Any stan out there that already hates us fans because we don't like Jodie Whittaker. This is a rally call, folks. This is a rally call for those fans to abuse people like us who did not like this era of Doctor Who. We'll leave that one up on the screen for just a second. Let us see who is in the chat. We got Chris Persian. He says that's a load of ball locks. What they did was the same as making a series about Queen Victoria and then cast a man to play Victoria. Good point. Good point. Right, we got WMD in the chat as well. So this was Salon, right, telling the readers, you know, especially those who are feminists and you know, believe in this Doctor, it's okay to go and bully these Doctor Who fans because they're all a bunch of haters and bigots and sexists and all of this other rubbish that they labelled us with. Let's continue. Yahoo even got involved. Forced female Doctor Who draws praise but inevitable sexist trolls. Again, anybody, see, this is why, again, you know, every form of criticism nowadays, and as I said, it doesn't matter what the topic of conversation is, right? It could be religion, gender, you know, climate change, you know, politics, even our own fandoms, right? If you have a different point of view to this shill media or these small minority of fans who seem to have the loudest voice, you're a right-wing, bigoted, blah, 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 this, that, and the other, and you're a troll. No, there are some legitimate concerns, but you ignore those legitimate concerns and you blow it as, well, the fandom is a bunch of sexist, racist, homophobes, and all of this other rubbish that has been thrown at the Doctor Who fandom for so long. Absolutely disgraceful. But again, you could see how they're framing it, and they'll do the same with Shooty. Watch the fourth Black Doctor, draw praises, but then you have racist trolls. You know, all they have to do is change a couple of words in that headline, right? And then they've got their new headline there. And this was actually from the Irish Times, an Irish newspaper. Why is a female doctor so hard for men to accept? I find it thrilling. Okay. Now, I will say that the journalist that wrote that is actually a bloke. I just want to make that clear. But why is a female doctor so hard for men to accept? See, this is another narrative that they wanted to set with these shills in the fandom. It was only men who had a problem with Jodie Whittaker becoming the first Doctor. Absolute and utter bull, right? There are plenty of women in this fandom who dare to speak out, who are bullied off social media by these stands because of articles like this, right? Women were also were finding it hard to accept a female Doctor because a lot of them didn't want a female Doctor and they didn't want to be pandered to. They were happy with the way the show was going. All they were hoping for was better stories because the Moffat era had failed to deliver consistently, right? But again, trying to set this narrative that it was only men, and remember, it was middle-aged men and the older generation. Because remember, then we got all the ageist comments coming out against Peter Capaldi because we held Peter Capaldi in high regard. So what did they do? The stands turned on Peter Capaldi, start saying he was too old, not understanding the history of the show while making such a stupid comment. Again, media are going to do this again with Shooty. We all need to be prepared and be ready to call these people out once and for all. 2023 is the year, I believe, that people are pushing back on a lot of stuff. You can see it already on Twitter. There's a lot of people pushing back on all of this stupidity, right? And it's going to continue. And we're going to continue to push back against it. Because at the end of the day, right, if racism is on the rise and homophobia is on the rise, it's not because of what you think, right wing, whatever, right? It's got to do with mostly the left. They're the ones that are pushing a wedge between us all and trying to divide us all. Right? And if they're not going after us with race, it's gender or it's some other fucking foolishness. Right? They're trying to divide us all, and these media are all in on it. Now, this again, as I told you, I've came across some articles, headlines, and I read this article before because I wanted to make sure that it was not legit, but it was actually the type of article that was slamming, and of course it was. The most feminist thing Doctor Who's 11th season could do is refuse to address sexism. Again, setting this narrative that it was only sexism that was the reason for the backlash. It wasn't the fact that fans actually had legitimate concerns. Remember, your legitimate concerns were ignored. That's why I came about, because fans were being ignored. And I seen it myself, and I was shut down a few times on Facebook before I decided to go full-time with this YouTube thing. Right? So that's the thing. There was no conversation, no debate to be had. The decision was made, and you were either on board, and if you weren't on board, you were a sexist bigot. Then we had the Daily Beast, whose headline is probably the most outrageous of them all. Now, I will agree with them that the British media, when Jodie Whittaker was cast, remember the British media did actually put the naked photographs up of Jodie Whittaker as the first female Doctor. And I think the point that was being made, well, how come we never seen, and it would never happen to the blokes. But that actually wasn't true, because Matt Smith, a couple of his nudes ended up online. So, but their headline says it all there. The despicable slut shaming of the first female Doctor Who. And that was because the media, the British media, so this is a media outlet actually attacking the British media on how they handled Jodie Whittaker's announcement. Now, I will say, it probably was in bad taste. But again, at the end of the day, I think the media were trying to make the point, I don't know actually what point they were trying to make, but remember, there was a celebrity leak of photographs as well, and she was one of them. So, and for the media to even turn on themselves, they'll do it. but that's from the Daily Beast. Then TV Guide, which is a magazine, as you know. The BBC rolls its eyes at sexist Doctor Who trolls. The Doctor is an alien from the planet Gallifrey and has been established in the show that Time Lords can switch gender. Yes, absolutely spot on. That is a spot on analysis. But the problem that we have is that it's already been established as part of canon. If you're going by canon, like you said, then it was already established that the Doctor was always a little boy. So, while you are right on one hand that it has been established that they can switch the gender, the fact of the matter is it's already been established within canon that the Doctor was a little boy, so he never changed gender. Again, absolutely rubbish from the media as usual. Now, this actually surprised me. Northeastern Global News and a professor. Doctor Who outrage illustrates larger prejudice problem. Now, we did see a lot of these so-called academics come out and defend the casting of a female Doctor. But what I would say is I'm not really totally mad at these academics anyway, to be quite honest with you. They should really be keeping their nose out of showbiz, in fairness. But the thing about it is that, they needed to try and legitimize this sexist nonsense. So, they got these professors that were willing to come out and talk about it, who had no understanding of the history of the show or probably never even watched the show, making comments about our show. Again, it's absolutely mind-boggling how they got away with this for so long. And the Michigan Daily said the new Doctor Who exposed shameful rejection of female representation. And again, that is another false narrative set up by everybody in the media. Nobody is against female representation. The issue I personally have is that if you're going to do female representation, then why don't you create brand new characters for those females to fill? Instead of taking already existing roles, right, that mostly happen to be male roles for some weird reason, and gender swap them. That is the lazy way out. That is not creative at all, right? That's just taking the lazy way. You think by taking an already established franchise that somehow it's going to actually help with your gender swap. It doesn't. I think what the media and Hollywood and all these studios don't understand is that there's a connection to all of these franchises, and people like them a certain way. You start messing around with them, you're not going to impress fans. You're not going to impress the wider audience, and this is the problem, right? Nobody had a problem with a female Time Lord having her own show, but not called Doctor Who. You could have had the Doctor's Daughter adventures years ago, right? You've had the Sarah Jane adventures. You've seen how well that had went and how successful that was, right? Unfortunately, Liz Sladen passed away. I reckon if that never happened, Sarah Jane probably be still on the TV right now. It was that popular. So nobody had a problem with female representation. The problem that we have is that you're already getting already established male roles, and you're deciding to gender swap them because you think that's fresh. It's not fresh. It's nothing fresh, right? What's fresh is by creating brand new roles for females, for women to get behind, and for us blokes as well. We like our female heroes. I grew up watching Xena, Warrior Princess, Ellen Ripley in the Alien franchise, Sarah Connor. I'm all for me female leads. I even loved Wonder Woman, the first one. Second one was crap, but I loved the first Wonder Woman. I'm all for female leads. I'm all for female representation. We all are. But do it properly and have respect for those women. And this is the whole thing. It boils down to being lazy and not being respectful. right? You talk about being respecting women and representing women. Well, do it properly then. Create these new roles for women. And that is the problem. But you see, the media will spin it and they'll say, no, it's a rejection of female represent. No, it's not. It's not. It's not. The show, whether you like it or not, was a male role for over half a century. You can't just change that on a whim, like what Chris Chibnall did, and expect fans to get behind it. None of this, right? There was a small minority in the fandom that were sexist towards Whittaker. We know that, right? We know that. But it wasn't the majority of fans. But the media made it out it was the majority of fans. Anybody that had legitimate concerns, it didn't matter, right? Your legitimate concerns were construed as being a right-wing sexist bigot, right? They didn't want to hear it. There was no time for conversation. There was no time for debate. Because that's how they do these things. Slap, bang, wallop. Take it or leave it is their attitude. Right? And over 9-10 million people did leave it. So there you go. You ruined the franchise all because you wanted to I don't know what point you were trying to make. Right? The way to respect Jodie Whittaker would have been to give her own spin-off bloody show. Right? There was plenty of female Time Lords out there that they could have explored, right? And they could have gave her a separate bloody show, not called her the Doctor, and gave her one of these characters that are already established within Doctor Who. But no, he's wanted to take the lazy way and cast a woman as the Doctor. And then you expected fans to just lap it up and not to say nothing at all. And then when fans were brave enough to actually speak up and say, no, they were against this, what happened? All of this. But I've left the last article to last because the last article was written last year. And it's probably from one, there's a couple of media outlets out there that have been really dirty throughout this whole campaign, right? And it's the Mary Sue. And the Mary Sue is not just going after Doctor Who fans. They've went after Star Wars fans. They've went after any fandom, any person that dares to be critical, right? And this was their article last year, right? And this made me laugh, right? Because I remember the backlash to this on Twitter. These stands then were saying that people were going and actually threatening Jodie Whittaker, right? So then I says, okay, fair enough. If that allegation is actually true, prove it. Prove it to me that people are actually going to Jodie Whittaker personally and sending her threatening stuff. They couldn't. So the Mary Sue wrote on October the 20th, 2022. So we're only a couple of months, we're only a month into the first month of 2023. So the article was done, 3 months ago. So it's not even that long ago, right? And they wrote, Doctor Who, Jodie Whittaker describes sexist backlash as terrifying. Now, what ensued after that article, and a few other articles actually followed it up, saying that she was actually fearing for her life, which is utter nonsense, right? I just want to make that clear, by the way. It's utter nonsense. But again, the media have shown, even as late as October, right? And as I said only a couple of weeks ago, the journalist from Escapist, who has shared this article several times before about Doctor Who being less woke, right, decided to reshare that again to have a dig at fans, a certain minority who were racist and sexist towards Millie Gibson. And we know there are always a small minority out there, and they must be called out, and I have called them out myself. We don't tolerate that nonsense, right? It has no place in fandom, and it has no place in society. We all know that, right? But the media they're gonna do it again. They're gonna do the same trick over again This time now, it's going to be racist, right? So if anybody out there has legitimate concerns, and there are fans who have legitimate concerns about Shooty, and there are those that are just downright being a racist pieces of shit, right? There's a difference, right? But what the media like to do is they don't like to separate these fans into categories, right? If anybody has any concern, whether legit or they're being a racist piece of shit, they'll all be lumped into the same box. We'll all be lumped into the same box, right? And this is why I'm telling you, you need to watch out now, because they're going to be pulling this racist shit when Shooty's official, because there is a small minority out there who are being a bunch of racists, and I have called them out myself personally, because I don't like that. It's a load of bollocks. Nobody said that the doctor can't be black. You have a problem with it, and that's your issue. Some people have a problem with it because they think that he might be it might be a diversity hiring and stuff like that, and they think that the show might continue to go down the woke route. They are legitimate concerns because of what happened the last 5 years. So I have no problem with those fans. They're legitimate concerns. But the ones who are being absolutely outright racist and fucking sexist, yeah, we call those assholes out. But the media will say it's all fans that have negative to say. This is why it was important to do this stream, to show you the narrative. And by the way, I could have been here all night, right? There are some articles out there that you have all seen that I haven't even put up, right? I could have been here for over 3 hours just showing you all the negative articles of the media, how they framed it, even some articles like just reframing the headline slightly different, but they're all talking the same crap, that are the same narrative, right? Same bullshit, right? So let me break it down to you, right? Once and for all, media. This was the issue with Jodie Whittaker not being the doctor. This is my opinion, right? But I do believe that there are other fans out there that probably share a similar opinion to me. So this was the problem and the real issue with Jodie Whittaker's casting. It was nothing got to do with the fact that we didn't want female representation. The problem was, as I said, the show for over half a century was a male role. Now, we may have moved on in society and things are moving forward in society in whatever direction we're going in, right? But when it comes to pop culture, I think you should respect the source material. And the source material dictates that the doctor is male, right? On the other hand, a lot of other fans had concerns because you went from Peter Capaldi to a female doctor, but then the showrunner's coming out and saying that he's not going to accept the job unless he casts a woman. So then, therefore, people questioned, did he really cast the best person for the role, or was there an agenda behind the casting? And that's where the legitimate concerns came from a lot of fans, right? When he came out and said that he would only take the role if he cast a woman, and then we got Jodie Whittaker. And again, there was more cynicism and criticism because Jodie Whittaker and Chris Chibnall had worked in the past, but a lot of people had heard Olivia Colman's name had been floating about and stuff like that. Here's the thing. A lot of fans, there will be still fans out there that if it was Olivia Colman, still would have been against it, right? But some fans, if it was Olivia Colman, they would have gave it a chance because it's Olivia Colman. Now, why would they have given it a chance because it was Olivia Colman? Well, because she's proven herself. She's got the acting chops, right? Jodie Whittaker has been a bit part in any role that she's been in, bar, I think that nurse show, whatever that nurse show was that she was in. I don't know the name of it, don't care, right? But everything else that she was in, she was a supporting cast member, right? She was never a leading lady, whereas Olivia Colman has been a leading lady. So fans had those legitimate concerns. But the media framed it that it was sexist to say that. And this is what I'm saying. Fans will have legitimate concerns about Shooty. Some will have their concerns about Millie, right? That's normal in a fandom, right? There'll be some that'll be excited, right? Like myself, I'm absolutely over the moon with the casting choices. I can't wait to see them in action. But the bottom line is that there will be some people out there that will be doubtful. But am I going around saying there are a bunch of this, that, and the other doing what they need? No. But there are, and I will say, and I'll keep saying it, there are a small minority out there that are just being total racists, right? They even creep in when people tag me in posts, right? It's even creeping in. I even remove myself from certain posts now because I don't want to, I'm not getting them. I don't know. I mean, if you have a problem with the Doctor being black, right, even though it's established that Time Lords can change skin color, well then, you know, as I said, to me, I don't think that's a legitimate concern. But it is legitimate concern to have if you think that Shooty's casting is cynical. I'm not going to call you a racist for saying that. Now, I'll disagree with you. I think RTD cast him because he blew him away at his audition. But I'll give it a chance. Yeah, I seen the slug thing. Yeah, we did a bit with Tardis time. You missed the stream. We actually showed all of those photographs. Go and look for the stream that says, I think it says Seth Photos and Videos. I'll put all the photographs up. If you've missed that, go and check that out. It's already up. Have to say, you know, YouTube bleeding limited the bleeding stream. But I appealed and of course, nothing wrong with the stream. As usual, nothing wrong with the stream. But YouTube just don't want me to make any money because they're a bunch of, you know. Again, another concern we all had, and Zombie Box Reviews brings it up, and it's a perfect one. You know, the fact that she didn't do any research until it was too late. You know, and those type of interviews that were coming out. How did the media and Chris Chibnall and everybody else think fans were going to react? Right? And we see it happening in other fandoms right now. It's still continuing. And it still continues in our fandom, right? Obviously, it's slowed down a little bit because Doctor Who is not back on the telly. Because remember, a lot of these people take a break for a while, you know, and then they come back with their stupid fucking articles then when it's about to gear up and ready to go, right? And you know what the ironic thing about this whole situation is? The media obviously started this, right? And then that fueled a certain small minority in this fandom to go on a 5-year crusade to try cancel as many long-term Doctor Who fans that they could get their hands on. But here's the thing that pisses me off about this whole thing, right? The journalist from Escapist magazine, and I made this point the other day, and I'm going to make it again, because this is how cynical they are. Fair enough, he was doing his job and he wanted to call people out for being racist towards Shooty and sexist towards Millie Gibson. By all means, do that. But what I didn't like was he used an article that he wrote during the Jodie Whittaker era to call fans sexist, right? To then link. So now apparently fans are not only sexist, they're racist now. And that's what I didn't like. He's so desperate for this article to be read that he'll use every opportunity to repost that article to make a point about this era, which I find baffling. And here's the thing, if that journalist really wants to get down to the nitty-gritty of what's wrong with that, what's wrong with the fandom, right? And if there's any other journalist out there that's listening right now or comes across this stream in a later time, this is what I'll say to you, right? Go and talk to fans out there that have been abused and harassed. And I'm not talking about ones that, support this. Go and talk to fans that have had issues with Doctor Who, right? And talk to them about their experience in the fandom and ask them, because every single one of us have evidence to show the abuse that was sent their way. So if all you journalists are so concerned about the toxicity in fandom, well, then why don't you expose the real people that are responsible for all the toxicity? And while you are at it, take responsibility for your own actions as well. Because the simple fact of the matter is, if you guys hadn't been coming out with all of this nonsense in the first place, fans like myself wouldn't have had to go through what we went through the last 5 years. If you had reported on what was really going on in the fandom, that these stands, right, these Tazzies, wherever you want to call them, were attacking long-term Doctor Who fans on a daily basis, sending threats, accusing them of all sorts, slandering them. You want a story? You want a story that'll be hot off the press? That's the story you tell. That's the reporting that you do, right? You don't go after fans for having legitimate concerns and turn around and call them right-wing extremists or bigots or sexists or whatever you want to call them, right? Go to the main cause and the main core of the issue, right? Is all of these new type fangled fans that aren't actually fans, right? They're not fans. They won't stick around like we will, right? You don't hear them all bitching about Batwoman anymore, do you? Now, where are they all gone now? Where's all these people that were supporting Batwoman? Or Batgirl, I should say, whatever the bleeding fucking TV show was, right? Where's all of those people now? Not a peep, not a sound from them all, because they've moved on to something else, because they're like locusts. They destroy and they move on. And the media facilitates all of this, and you ought to be ashamed of yourself. Tell the true story, right? The funny thing is, we get this narrative, the Doctor Who fandom is toxic. Well, it wasn't toxic during the fucking RTD and the Moffat eras, right? Yes, we did have to deal with some unfortunate people in the fandom, like we do in all fandoms, but it wasn't what you made it out to be. The fandom became as toxic as it did because of these new fangled fans, these people that didn't understand the show, who are now exposing the fact that they don't understand the show, because, most of them didn't watch before Jodie Whittaker. And how do we know that? Well, because they're all outraged over the skinny man comment that Donna Noble's character made towards the Doctor, even though we know that's been in the show since the Runaway Bride. It just goes to show that these people that the media have been pandering to and protecting, right, don't know anything about the show. When the logo came out, right, they were like, oh, why is the Doctor Who logo ripping off the Paw Patrol logo? It wasn't ripping off the Paw Patrol logo, you bleeding morons, right? Go back and look at the classic era, yes, bleeding donkeys. See, this is the thing. They never watched the bloody show, right? And these are the people that the BBC and all these other little media gobshites wanted to bleeding pander to. And we're the bad guy here. I mean, when they made that Paw Patrol comment, that just proved to me that everything that I called these fans, because remember, I was criticised by every part of the fandom, not just their side, but a lot of people were saying that I was going too far when I was calling these fake fans. You can't call them fake fans. You can't call them this, that. Yes, they are. That's exactly what they are. And they expose themselves time and time again, right? Now, if Escapist magazine actually want a headline, here's one. How about doing an article on the rainbow-loving fans who sent homophobic, disgusting rants towards RTD and sent death threats to David Tennant? Where's your articles on those fans? Oh, no, you'd rather do an article on someone who says that they don't like Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor because they don't believe that the Doctor should be black, right? That's what you'll focus on. And then you'll blow it up and you say, oh, look at a sexist, a racist fan. right? Instead of actually dealing with what the real problem is, right? Fans can have concerns, right? I don't necessarily agree with people that have the problem with the skin color because I've always advocated for Richard Ayoade. He was a choice of mine that I wanted for the Doctor because I loved him in the IT crowd, and he was in that movie with Ben Stiller and Vince Vaughn. What was the name of it again? It was I can picture it in my head. It didn't go down too well with a lot of people, that movie, but I loved it anyway. So I always advocated for him. I've made no secret of it. But apparently to a few that was a surprise. But there you go. But that's their problem, not mine. I've always said it. It's no secret. But fans will have, as I said, there will be fans who have legitimate concerns because they'll think, like with the Jodie Whittaker casting, that he was only brought in to tick a box, right? That doesn't make them racists, right? Now it's up to it's up to RTD and Shooty Gatwa to prove those fans wrong. And if those fans are wrong, they will openly come out and says, well, I thought Shooty was a bit of a checkbox, but I'm going to admit that those feelings have gone away and I think he's great in the role. Right? That's what will probably happen. The watch. Yeah, I love the part where he goes into the house where there's an orgy going on and then he wants to stay. He's bleeding deadly movie, man. I love that movie. It's so underrated, actually. So the toxic Doctor Who fans who are Chris Chibnall and uh, he will. So I think he will surprise us all. I don't have any doubts. I'm pretty excited to see what Shooty gives us. But I can understand that fans do have legitimate concerns. See, that's the difference between me and the media. I won't. There are, as I said, I'm not. I'm going to acknowledge that there are unfortunately a few, but it's a very, very small minority that have been racist, and I think it is disgusting, to be quite honest. But the ones that have legitimate concerns, thinking that this might be another Jodie 2.0 because the way the casting was done, then, again, as I said, I don't necessarily agree with it, but people are entitled to that opinion, but it doesn't make them racists. That's what I mean. The media need to understand that Tardis time. Some fans are going to be wary because of the last 5 years, but the media don't take that, or the journalists or the propagandists don't take that into consideration when they're writing their articles. Just to let you know, though, you'll be surprised that the majority of those articles that I threw up for you today were written by men. Now there were some from women, but the majority of those headlines that I threw up were from male journalists, which we saw a lot of that anyway over the last 5 years. These male journalists watching their backs, basically jumping on board the bandwagon because they don't want to be accused of being sexist and stuff like that, even though they're the ones that set the narrative in the first place. It's kind of funny though. Who cares? Let them. Let them. At the end of the day, the only reason why the media and these Whittaker stands, I should say, wanted another female doctor was to validate Jodie Whittaker's doctor. But Jodie Whittaker's doctor will never be validated to fans like me anyway. And it would have been a bad idea to go from a female doctor that was highly controversial and then to go straight into another female doctor. It wouldn't have worked. It would have killed the show completely. So I can understand why David Tennant is back. He's back to try win some of those fans over that haven't fully made up their minds right now. And then we go into a new era with Shooty's doctor. Yes, he is the first male black doctor, but that to me is irrelevant. His skin color to me, all I just want to see is he the best in the role. Can he live up to expectations? And I have very high expectations for for what I've seen, he is a talented actor. So the expectations are high. They're not too high because obviously what's happened the last 5 years. So I've tempered my expectations a bit. But once I'm entertained and I have a smile on my face again watching Doctor Who, then it's job well done. Shooty Gatwa, Millie Gibson, and RTD as far as I'm concerned. All I want is just to be able to sit down and watch Doctor Who without feeling like I'm going to be attacked, like we all were, right? Okay, whether being preached about climate change or being called dregs and all of this other rubbish that Chibs wanted to throw at us. We just want to watch Doctor Who to be entertained. We want those space battles. We want those rivalries going on in Doctor Who. We want to see the Doctor do everything that the Doctor has done in the past before Whittaker was cast. And if he can do that and live up to that expectation, RTD, well, then he's won me back as a fan. And you know what? I'm already excited. My excitement hasn't went away. I'm absolutely buzzing for this 60th anniversary. I can't wait. I think it will surprise a lot of people. It's gonna be epic. And I really, really have my fingers crossed for Shooty, and I'm really, really gunning for him to blow it out of the park because, you know, I want Shooty to be able to come out to be a Doctor that everybody can get behind and everybody say, wow, yes, right, forget about Skid Core, forget about all of that other rubbish. He is the Doctor, right? That's what I want to hear from fans when that show comes back with him, right? And if RTD can do that, right, and Shooty can win over the rest of the people that are not sure, well, then I tell you one thing, man, we are on to something absolutely brilliant. And finally, that golden goose that Doctor Who has had for decades. And this is the thing that's all, and I've said this consistently over the last 5 years, and you know this. BBC have never realised what they had or what they have in Doctor Who. For the first time ever, right, that dream is going to be realised. That dream is finally going to be realised, and Doctor Who is about to go global, properly global. Over 62 countries, Doctor Who will be all around the world. It'll be global. Now, obviously, being global means nothing. It obviously has to be good. And that's RTD's job to make sure that it is. But they're on the precipice here. They're on the verge of something absolutely amazing if they do it right. And we as fans can finally sit back and enjoy and be happy in the knowledge that our show that we've grown up and loved throughout our time, and we've been, like myself, have been watching it decades, and a lot of you have been watching it even before me, right? But we could sit down with a smile on our face and say, job accomplished. The show is now secure for future generations, right? There was a time where we were all calling for this show to be cancelled, to be put out of its misery. Now there's a chance of a resurrection, the phoenix to rise from the ashes, and for this show to truly show its true potential. And I am absolutely excited and still buzzing. I am still buzzing still to this day, and I can't wait to see what he has for us. But I will temper those excitements because I don't want to get over excited, and I don't want the expectations to go into overdrive because, you know, I'll go into this excited for the first time. That's the difference, right? When Jodie came along, yeah, I did still have a little bit of excitement. I'm not going to lie. Even though I knew it was going to be a train wreck, I was still hoping that maybe she could prove us all wrong. But obviously she didn't. And I wasn't looking forward to Series 12. And Doctor Who Flux, I had a tiny bit of excitement for that, but that was that was thrown out the window very quickly. Thanks, Chibs. Because again, you start off kind of decent, and then the second episode you just ruin it all. Like, I mean, come on. But this is the first time I am genuinely excited for the 60th and for Shooty's there. I'm really, really looking forward to it. I cannot wait. And I know there are people out there saying, because I've seen the comments, Noel doesn't deserve to enjoy Doctor Who, or the BBC is pandering to Noel and they're not my doctors and all this. Just to let you know, right? BBC doesn't pander to anybody but the left, right? To suggest now, right, and I'm not right-wing, by the way, but a lot of you little muppets on the left will say that it's right-wing extremists that hate Doctor Who. So what you're suggesting in reality is that BBC now have flipped from the left to the right. Have you watched the BBC lately? BBC have not flipped, okay? Here's the thing. BBC have seen what's happened the last 5 years. It's been analysed. They know what's worked and what hasn't worked. They're not pandering to anybody, right? They're not even pandering to us. They're pandering to nobody, right? RTD is back to save Doctor Who because the show is in the shitter, right? That's all they're concerned about. They don't care about your feelings. They don't care about my feelings, right? End of story. They're not pandering to not my doctors. They're not pandering to people like me, or as you just keep calling these people right. Anybody that has a different opinion is a right wing. No, like that's not true either. By the way, people can have different opinions. And by the way, just to let you say, but little secret, well, it's no big secret. I like some policies of the left and I like some policies of the right. You know what I mean? And we're all different. Some people will be more right wing, and some people will be more left wing. Some people will be centralist, and some people center right, and then some people center left, and all of this crap. It doesn't matter anyway. Politics shouldn't come into it, and this is another thing that the media introduced. Everybody that was against it was right wing. Right wing. No, not the case at all. Again, not the case. And he's still calling us not my doctors. Of course they are. Because they've nothing else to throw. Sure, they're pathetic now. They're not as strong as they used to be. I mean, they've been after the latest controversy over the skinny man comment, they were put to task by both sides of the fandom, believe it or not. The stands were put in their place. They were basically told, shut up, by both sides. Both sides have had enough of them. Well, we've had enough of them from day one. The other side seem to have gotten fed up with them now all of a sudden. And they're turning on them. And they're turning on each other. So let them. We knew that was going to happen. We said it to eat each other alive anyway. So, in summary, we must prepare ourselves. Because when Shooty is in the role, and trust me, there'll be fans out there that'll praise him. There'll be fans out there that'll say he's done a good job. And then obviously there'll be the other side. There'll be some fans that'll think that he's not good. Some fans will think that he's poor in the role. And those people will be labelled, and we all will be labelled racist. So we must stand up against this, and the media will start as soon as the 60th gets into full flow, and then when it starts to focus on Shooty, then that's when the media will start their campaign. They're already starting to lay the foundations. There's a series of articles out there already, as you have seen, and they're already trying to set this narrative up that anybody that has any legitimate concerns about Shooty will be racist, and we must be ready to call them out and hold them to task, because we cannot have another 5 years like we had. It's about time that fans start speaking up, and especially against this type of reporting, and these activist journalists need to be held to task. If you want to go to the root of the problem, you're looking in the wrong place. The toxicity in the fandom starts off with the stands. So if you want to actually be truthful about reporting on this fandom, then come to me or anybody in this chat and they'll show you all the evidence that you need to write an article and show you how actually depraved these people actually are. And in the 5 years that I've been around, I've been sent death threats, I've been sent pictures of beheadings, I've been accused of putting a female fan's face onto porn images. I've also been called a white supremacist, a Nazi. I've been called a right-wing extremist, a bigot, a sexist. I've been called all sorts of things. When I defended John Barrowman and Noel Clark, I was called a defender of SPs and all of that other nonsense. I can't actually use the word on YouTube because they're very strict, but you get accused of all of this, right? So if you are actually interested in finding out the root cause and the truth of why the fandom became toxic, well then come and talk to me and other channels out there that have received the same sort of abuse. And then we might then, after you actually start reporting on the truth, maybe then we might start respecting the media again. But I could tell you, I've lost all respect for the media. I think they've lost all credibility altogether, and it would take a miracle at this stage for them to change my mind otherwise. The media started all of this. The media set up the narratives in all fandoms and in society. Anybody that decided to be critical or to have an opposing opinion is a right-wing extremist, and that is not the case whatsoever. It is absolutely disgraceful. These journalists should be held to account because some of their articles have caused a lot of heartache and pain for people out there. They should be under some set of standard. You know, they shouldn't be allowed come out with articles that jump to conclusions and do not have proper evidence to back them up. We have seen that throughout the years. This is the year, folks, that fans and fan channels like mine need to be calling the media out and holding them to account. Now, we did during the early days of Whitaker, and we continued that fight all the way through, and I was very consistent. I stuck with it, even though I lost friends along the way. I stuck to me guns. You know me, I will stick to this. I will call the media out and I will hold them to account. You know that, because we fans have been through too much, right, to let this happen yet again. We've learned from the last 5 years. We've gained a lot of experience. This time we'll be able to handle the media properly, and we will hold them to task, folks, because we are not going to have this fandom divided and turned into an even worse toxic fandom than it is because of those people. They will be held to account. They will be called out. And if there's any journalist out there that has wrote any of these articles and is brave enough to come onto the channel, I implore you to come on. I challenge you to come on, because I think it's about time that you journalists come on and you actually back up these articles and actually listen to what fans have to say in communities like this, right? So if there's any journalists out there that is actually brave enough to come on and explain how you formed the opinion that you formed, and let fans in the chat explain to you why they think you're wrong. But you won't do that, because what you do is like Escapist magazine did. They block you, and that's what recently happened to me. There's a lot of media outlets that have actually blocked me, and there's actually a lot of you actually look at who follows me. I have a lot of media outlets that actually follow me as well. You can tell who the good journalists are and who the shill journalists are. But I've had a lot of journalists ban me over the last 5 years because I've called them out. But just because they ban me, folks, right, doesn't mean that you guys can't call them out either. And I'm not saying call them out by being nasty. I mean, putting it up to them and saying, okay, so that's your article, that's your headline. Where's your proof? Show us the evidence of all of this. And how can you claim that it's the majority of the fandom? Or how can you claim that it's only male fans? When I've got evidence that suggests otherwise, that it's both male and female fans. You know? They've been getting away with it for far too long. And they haven't been held up to any sort of scrutiny if it hasn't been for channels like myself, a Gobby Guy, all of those other channels out there, Gary from Neurotic, who calls the media out on a weekly bloody basis. Right? Even the media did some journalist did an article on him. And I tell you, it's the funniest piece of crap that I've ever read. But it's elevated. But see, the media don't even realise what they're doing. Right? You're elevating them even further in fans' eyes. Right? Because you're attacking them. And then you come out with some crap about he's a parents man. And you think that's going to fly. And then people rally around him and support him, and rightly fucking so. Like, how dare you attack someone because you don't agree with their opinions? That's not your job as the media. Not everything is a fucking agenda or a fight. I mean, I just thought it just needs to be called out. I mean, just before we do go, and this is not related to Doctor Who, but Felma, right? You've all heard the backlash about Felma. So I decided I'd go and check it out because I'm not going to criticize something if I'm not going to check it out. That's the way I am now. I'm not going to actually just jump on the bandwagon and criticize something unless I've watched it. So let me just tell you that Felma is a show that obviously it's not for me, right? It's definitely not for a bloke. And if you're brave enough to watch it, let's just say it's the cringiest piece of shit that I've ever seen, right? Now, I will say this, some Twitter account out there put out a post claiming that Scooby was now going to be played by a woman spelt with an I, and they were going to have a relationship and all of this, and it turned out to be utter bullshit. But the chaos that post caused, I even retweeted it myself, I'm going to be honest, like a lot of other people do. Here's another thing as well I need to say to people out there, and that includes YouTubers out there as well, right? Because you seen what I did today for the video today. I put up the screenshots, right? If you're going to come out and claim something like that, then please make sure that you have the evidence to back you up. When someone says she said that, he said that, they said, I'm sorry. You know, I should have kind of copped on myself when I seen that, but I didn't. Because I'd seen the show, so obviously I was going to react to it. And because of the stuff that I'd already seen in the show, I thought, well, I wouldn't be surprised that this is true. But you need to be doing your research. You need to be doing back checks on stuff like that. Because the chaos you caused in the fandom, I mean, Velma was trending already, but it went up in trends after that post. So YouTubers also have a responsibility as well. You know, that it's not just the media that do it as well. YouTubers frame things certain ways, you know, whereas you've always seen it with me, right? You know, we've always showed you the articles when we're reading them. We're not trying to be, and if there are any articles, and I have praised the Whittaker over the 5 years. You think of all I've ever done is bash her acting and her stuff. No, I've actually said some nice things. It's just the nice things get lost because, you know, you just want to focus on a narrative. And that's what certain people out there on Twitterverse do as well. They focus on a certain narrative. They know that fans are already angry about Velma. So why not come out and put up a screenshot and say, oh, well, this person's going to play Scooby now. Everybody's going to react to it. And we need to all stop doing that, including myself, because I did react to that article. This is why I'm saying it. We need to stop this knee-jerk reaction to everything that people put up there. right? We need to, obviously, if it's an article, it's different because you can read the article and then you can obviously react to the article. But stuff like that, people claiming that they know something's going to happen in the show, there's always a knee-jerk reaction. This is why I've always said when I used to put out my information, it's rumor and speculation. It's not fact, folks, because we don't want people knee-jerk reaction, but there was always a knee-jerk reaction to anything I ever put out, as you always know. Always is. I mean, there'll be a reaction to this, right? For the fact that I've called the media out. I'll be accused of harassing the media now, even though I've censored all the journalists' names, just to make sure that nobody is, because it's me just showing you the narrative that the media was setting out there. And as I said, they'll do the same for Shooty. So look out for that. And as I said, we will be calling it out. I'm not going to get embattled with the fans out there. If there are fans out there that don't like David Tennant or Shooty or Atten, I'm not going to be getting in a tangle with them. But I will be focusing more on the media, because the media, in my opinion, are responsible for a lot of people that we've known that were bullied off social media because of the way they framed certain articles and because of the narrative that they set in this fandom. Now, there are some Twitter accounts out there that I could focus on that have also helped double down on that and help the media with their narrative, but I don't really care about them. Some of them have already turned their back on the Jodie Whittaker era now, and they're all excited and returning for David Tennant and then for Shooty. See, here's another type of fan that I don't like. The fans that come out and criticise to me, then they left. They worked within the BBC and all that. They left. Now they're returning. Their YouTube channels are active again, and they're back. See, the reality is, even though most of these people were defending Jodie Whittaker's doctor, here's the reality of the situation, and here is the biggest fucking whopper of them all. And it's no secret to any of us out there that are intelligent. These people also did not like Jodie Whittaker's doctor, right? But because they were part of the cogs of the main machine, right, which was the BBC and working within that organisation, they jumped on board it, right? But they couldn't stomach it for long. Because remember who left. We had Ben Cook who left. We had Crystal D who left. Remember, they were the biggest advocates and biggest voices for the female doctor. And then they disappeared. Crystal D went on to do another job. Now she's back on YouTube. Our Doctor Who channel's back. She's been actually streaming with Beth from the Time Ladies, right? Now, I'll give Beth the credit where credit is due. So at least she stuck around when she wasn't whinging off Twitter. She did stick around for the fight, but Crystal D didn't stick around. Ben Cook didn't stick around. But all of a sudden now, Ben Cook did the interview with RTD. Crystal D is back on our channel. Those two are making a return to the fandom, but they're the biggest hypocrites of all. They're the biggest hypocrites of all. Yes, they defended the female, but they weren't behind the fully. So they're liars. And the other ones that sat on the fence as well. The other YouTubers and Twitter accounts out there that sat on the fence or disappeared and now are back. I hate them just as much as I hate the stands. They're just as bad. Because instead of backing Doctor Who during its bad times, right, and actually calling out what was happening in the show, they decided to ride the wave for the last 5 years and keep their nose clean, hopefully that they wouldn't be targeted, right? And then just to come back and slide back in after 5 years and think everything is okay and rosy and dandy, and then to go and start preaching to the fandom and preaching to John Barrowman, about how they should apologise properly and how fans should behave and all of this. Well, who are you to talk? Any of yous? Yous all stood by and watched the show being destroyed. And now that she's gone, now some of yous want to pipe up now and start speaking. Sit down. Nobody wants to hear from yous. The time to speak was 5 years ago when she was cast. Right? I hate them just as much as the stands. right? I don't hate the ones that left because they couldn't hack it anymore because they were being abused all the time. I don't blame some of those fans because I really do believe that you have to be mentally strong to especially look. Even Chris here admitted a few weeks ago when we did I think it was before we announced he was going to be hosting permanently on the channel on Friday nights. We did a stream and we were talking about this, and he even brought up the fact that by the end of it all, I was probably the most harassed out of everybody that he knew in the Doctor Who community. And that is probably accurate. I'd hate to think that, but I think it is accurate. It is an accurate statement. Right? And I took all of that on board. Yes, there were a few times where I had me moments. You were all here for them. I did have me moments. I was going to quit a couple of times. As you know, I was close to it. I was going to pack it in. I was like, is it actually worth it? But I always came back to the same answer. To me, it was a show that saved me life. It was a show that I grew up loving and watching. And I came back in a nice time in 2005. So I felt I owed it. I was loyal. But the ones that just disappeared and now are back, thinking that they could just slide back in and then like start demanding things of people. Nah, that's not how it works. You didn't stick with Doctor Who during its bad era, right? This is my second bad era because we obviously had the 80s, right? So I've experienced this twice. Now, obviously, the show did go away after the 80s. We did have the film. Obviously, I watched the film as a Doctor Who fan at the time. You know, we all have our opinions on the movie, but I never stopped being a Doctor Who fan. You guys stopped being Doctor Who fans because you didn't agree with the direction the show was going in, but rather than speak up, you decided to leave. And now you're back dictating. It's not how it works. I'm sorry, folks, but that's not how it works. You can't all of a sudden decide to come back. And there are still fans out there. I see in a Twitter account, I don't know where it's come from, but someone retweeted it, giving out apparently the fans at the time, this children storyline, which is fair enough. Look, if you are a fan of that, that's fine. Fine. My issues with it is it should never have been done. And if you were going to do something like that, at least finish the bloody job, which Chris never did anyway. But to me, it should never have been done. The origins of the Doctor or the Time Lords never needed to be explored. As I said, there were certain things already established in the show. You didn't need to go any further than that. It was okay. What we were given, we were okay with. If they wanted to explore Time Lord culture a bit more, we were obviously for that, but not go back to the origins kind of and explore all of that. But you could add on to the Time Lord, but no, nobody was the majority of that. But this person, this account tried to blame a toxic fandom. Again, the same narrative. It was a toxic fandom that didn't like the Timeless Child. No, the majority of the British public and the majority of Doctor Who fans didn't like the Timeless Child. The only ones that liked the Timeless Child were the sellouts and the stands. And yes, there are some sellouts in the fandom. Remember that, by the way. And I'm not trying to put targets on anybody's backs, so I won't mention names. But remember, there are people that are traitors to this show, and that's exactly what they are. I mean, if you're for the destruction of canon, then you are a traitor. Simple as that. Remember, there are fans that stood by and allowed that to happen. Yeah, there's nothing we could have really done because we spoke up. Obviously, there's nothing we could have done, but at least we voiced our opinion and we gave fans like you a chance. to voice their opinion. And that once it was out there in the public eye, everybody knew where you stood, right? But some sat on the fence and sat back and watched all of this happen. Remember that. And some sold their souls, right, for that era of Doctor Who. That's exactly what they did. And we got Queen Charlotte in the chat. Thank you, Tardis Time Noel gave me the confidence to start. Yes, says Queen Charlotte. Yeah, so my announcements before we go any further. I might as well not wait until the end. So this is what's happening with the channel moving forward. Now, I'm still figuring out the finer details, but this is what's going to happen. Hopefully, 2 weeks from now is when it all kicks off. So, as you already know, Friday night contact, 9 o'clock every Friday. 2 days a week, we're going to have the Tardis Zone talks, and I'm going to be joined by a brand new co-host from a completely different channel. So it's not a regular panelist that you know. A brand new co-host is joining me for the Tardis Zone talk. So it won't be like this format anymore. I'll have two co-hosts, and we will be talking about the latest news discussion. And as I said, we will have a part of the stream which will be dedicated to calling the media out, because as I said, very serious about that. They're going to be held to task. They're going to be called out for the bull. But we'll be discussing the latest news. Obviously, if there's any latest leaks, whatever it is, photographs, video footage, all of that fan footage, we'll be doing all that. So I'll be joined by a brand new co-host. I'm not going to tell you who it is right now, because as I said, we're just figuring out the finer details now. They've agreed to be here. So and they said they could do as many as they want. But we're going to start off with two, because obviously I've got the other days are planned out. So this is what's happening. New Who is going to return with the original panel if they're still all up for it. So I know there's some of the original panel in the chat. So if you are still on board, let me know privately. We'll bring that back to maybe Sunday nights, New Who's on, where we'll be continuing our Peter Capaldi era. Then when New Who's on is finished with Peter Capaldi, we're going to bring back Classic Who's on the same day. So New Who will go away until obviously the 60th anniversary comes along, and then obviously the New Who's on comes back, because we'll be doing watch-alongs and we'll be doing the reviews as well. Right, so then New Who then will be replaced by Classic Who, and we'll get the same panel on. We might have even a larger panel, merge the two panels together for that. So they'll be coming back as well, right? So we'll have just say, I'll just give an example. This exactly won't be it, but it might be close to it. So say Monday we have the Tardis Zone talks. Then we'll take a break on Tuesday, be back Wednesday then for the Tardis Zone talks. Right, then Friday will be Friday night contact, and then Sunday then will be either Classic or New Who's on. Right, now the reason why I've kept Saturdays free is because in the meantime we don't know yet, hasn't been confirmed yet, but Noel Clark might be coming back for a few more. We don't know yet, it's not confirmed yet. But Saturdays will be left open, because obviously if Doctor Who comes back on Saturday nights, we have to leave Saturday night open for obviously our watch-alongs and our panels for that as well. So everything is going to be in 2 weeks' time. You will have an idea what day you will know. You will know the time of the stream is on, what day it's on, and that won't change. That'll be the schedule then. And then obviously then if there's any breaking news or anything like that, then there'll be obviously extra streams thrown on top of that. And of course, I haven't forgotten the members, and I know I've neglected the member side of it a bit. Some of you know the situation. For some of you that don't, we've got a couple of trolls in there, and you know, one of them actually said something disgusting just even a few days ago, and. You know, my hope was that they'd feck off when they see that there's no member streams, but it doesn't seem to be working. So I will have then a member stream. There'll be a member stream each week, one member stream. So I'll get back to do member streams. So I just want the members. I just want to apologise to the members because I know I have neglected that side. And you know me, it's not like me. I wouldn't do that if there wasn't a reason. And I did explain to some people a while back why I was not doing member streams because I was hoping, but they're not going to go away. We'll just have to handle it. And hopefully YouTube get their act together and you can stop these people from becoming members in the first place. But the member streams will be something completely different. It won't be the member streams that we did. I will still continue the odd time. We'll still do the RTD era, but the member streams will be completely something different. Because obviously I want to give different content on the member streams. So there'll be whatever I feel like talking about. But you will get a member stream each week. And I just want to say thank you to the members for being so patient. Because a lot of you have, and you haven't even actually said that to me because you know what's been going on. So I really do appreciate that. We will get back to doing them as well. So you will have an idea. You will have a calendar. You will know exactly what's going on each week. And then obviously if there's any breaking news or any stuff, then there'll be extra streams thrown in there. If that is breaking, then obviously we have to go live. It won't be scheduled and all of that. But the rest of the streams they'll be all live as usual. They'll all still be live. Don't worry about that. But yeah, come and join us for that. I'll announce the new co-host as soon as we got the days and the time locked down, and I'll make that announcement. So look out on all my social medias and obviously here on the YouTube channel for that. But there's plenty to come on the channel, and it's going to be very busy. But that's the way ha 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 I like it. So yeah. So there you go. Wahoo, we love Noel Clark. Yeah, well, I have to get in touch with him. He's been busy. He's been busy the last couple of days and stuff and training and all of that. So I've just, I'll drop in on him soon, and we'll see if he's up to doing. He did say on the stream, as you just heard, it won't be the last time, so it won't be. It's just a little break. There's no harm in having a little break anyway. But if you haven't checked out the streams with Noel Clark, there's plenty of them there. Go and check them out. It's very insightful. Listening to Noel talk about his movies is actually... Listen, I'm not just bragging because he's on this channel, but if you haven't checked out Noel Clark talking about his movies, I would highly recommend it. He's a very fascinating chap, and you can tell that he loves his craft. It comes across quite evidently that he loves his craft. It's very insightful, very educational, and we don't talk too much about Doctor Who, but the first stream that we did do with him, which was adulthood, he did give us an insight into some Doctor Who stuff. So if you're looking for some Doctor Who stuff, and it was some juicy stuff as well, he actually gave away a couple of things that were supposed to happen with Doctor Who but never transpired. So if you just want to go and check that out, go and check the adulthood stream out. That's where he talks the Doctor Who stuff. He doesn't really talk about Doctor Who when he comes on here, because the whole point of these streams was for me to talk to him about something other than Doctor Who. Talk to him about either his movies or the TV shows that he's done. So that's what we wanted to do. So he doesn't really go into too much on Doctor Who, but the bit that he did was very, very interesting. And I have to tell you, it was very interesting to hear. It's in relation to Torchwood and the fact that he was supposed to be in Doctor Who a lot more than what he was, but he decided to take this film instead. But then the film never happened, and then of course he never. Well, he did feature in Doctor Who again, but he would have been in a lot more than he was if he had to turn down the movie, which never happened. So he gave us some juicy information there. So if you haven't checked that out, go and check that out. So there you go. And Tardis time is leaving us, so I'll see you later, Tardis time. And I'm going to be heading off now myself because me and the wife been getting into a bit of a Columbo buzz. So we haven't watched it in a couple of days. So we're going to watch a couple of episodes of Columbo before she heads to bed. So that's what we're going to do. So Charlotte said she's up for that. That's absolutely fantastic. Yeah, I'll let you know. When I've got everything organized and I know it. This is when I'll know when the person that's going to be coming on with me for the Tardis Own Talks give me the days and the times, then I'll be able to let everybody know then exactly what stream is on what day and what time. So just bear with me. Just give me a couple of days. I've already went to that person and said, listen, have a think about what days you're available and what times, and we will get that sorted. And as soon as that's sorted, then everything else falls into place. And then we'll make the announcement on all the social medias and obviously this channel as well. So don't worry, you won't miss out on the announcement. So if someone comes to me and tells me I didn't know, I'm letting you know now. It'll be available here on YouTube. If you follow me on Instagram, there'll be something up on Instagram. If you follow me on Facebook, in any of the Facebook groups, it'll be in the Facebook groups. And if you follow me on Twitter, it'll be on Twitter. So there's no way that you can miss this announcement. So if anybody says that I haven't told them what time streams are on at, well, you didn't look hard enough, basically, is what I'm going to say, because it's going to be everywhere, plastered everywhere, right? It'll even be pinned to the channel, YouTube channel, and it'll be pinned to the Twitter account, and it'll be up on Instagram and all that other, right? So just look out for that anyway. So yeah, if you get him to react to RTD1 era, that would be interesting. Yeah, I get the impression. That Noel would rather talk about what he's worked on rather than what he's worked in, if you get what I mean by that. And that was the whole purpose of the streams anyway. When I did invite him on, I invited him on to do a movie. So we just automatically then went down that route. I'm pretty sure there'll be some stage where he might want to talk about Doctor Who. But you've got to see it from my point of view. I don't want to push the issue, if he sees a question, which he has the odd time, if he's seen a question in the chat in relation to Doctor Who, he feels like answering it, he will answer it. But he just be so engrossed in explaining his movies and the writing and the acting, he doesn't really, have a lot of time to change subject. He likes to he's a bit like me, even though I do ramble on sometimes and lead into different conversations, but I like to kind of try keep all the one subject. But he's a stickler for that. I actually like him for that. That just goes to show you that he likes to do things a certain way, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's fascinating stuff. I'm pretty sure we'll get him at some stage to talk about Doctor Who, but right now, I'm just enjoying having him on and listening. Now, our head mod is heading off to have his dinner, so say goodnight to everybody. Say goodnight, everybody, to Chris. He does a lot for this channel, so it's nice to give him the old recognition that he deserves, because he's one of the hardest working people on YouTube. And I know people say, it's sitting in front of the computer, but he has to keep an eye on the chat, and sometimes he does several chats as well. And the bigger channels, you can think about all the hate that they get and all the crap that they get that he has to filter out. So, the fact that he's here and sometimes, he does be dual modding is something I can't even do. I can't even bleed modding my own bleeding chat properly, never mind bleeding dual modding. So yeah, Chris deserves a lot of credit, man. So because he's been with me for a long time, and he's always had me back as well. but he always makes sure everybody in the chat is safe. So yeah, so enjoy our dinner, mate, and we'll see you for the next one. Have a good one, pal. So yeah, there's a lot of people that do help this channel as well, you know, and I'm very grateful to them all. So yeah. So I suppose that's it for the night. I've said all I need to say about the media, but as I said, when the Tardis Zone Talks comes back, it'll be obviously with a new co-host with me, and it'll be obviously slightly different format to the way we obviously did this one and previous ones, but we'll still cover the same topics. We will also obviously talk about fan favorite episodes and all that other stuff that you like to talk about. There'll be more to talk about and stuff like that, and we will be obviously, because RTD era is coming back, we will be obviously asking you guys throughout the whole run of the Tardis Zone Talks, these are favorite episodes, least favorite episodes, all of this, all RTD, because RTD is coming back for the second time. So, we'll focus on stuff like that, and then obviously all the exciting stuff that comes out of the RTD era, the fan video, the photographs, all of that, the TARDIS console room. Remember, still to come, even though we've seen leaked photographs, but it's still to come. Obviously, a lot of fans, screwdrivers, another thing that people are excited to see as well. And we've already had so many announcements as it is so far. So, yeah, folks, we'll leave it there. Thank you again, everybody, for tuning in. And I can't wait to reveal who my new co-host is. But it's great to have different people on board, and then we'll have the regular guys on for the watch-alongs as well. So there'll be a lot of variety this year. And of course, as we always do on this channel, we will have some we'll have some fun times. We'll have some epic debates, and we'll have all the usual stuff that you love about this channel. So thank you again for the support. Thank you, everybody that has subscribed to the channel recently. I don't know where as I said the last time, I don't know where you are all coming from, but thank you. I really do appreciate it. If you do like the channel and you like what you're hearing from the channel, don't be shy to suggest the Tardis Zone to people out there. We're not as bad as everybody makes us out to be. We're actually quite nice people. Scottish Stavros Cinnamon ? Is Daniel trying to guess who my new co-host is? Now, this co-host has their own big YouTube channel. So it's someone you do know. Well, some of you will know. I don't know if all of you know, but most of you should know. But it's not Cinnamon, no. And don't ask who it is, because that's not fair. But no, this is another YouTuber. And it's a surprise. You're trying to get me to slip up there. Nearly slipped up there. Stop. That's not fair now, Daniel. Stop it. Stop it. Now you'll just have to wait and see, right? You'll just have to wait and see. But I'm pretty sure some people out there will be excited. I'm pretty sure. I'm almost pretty sure some people will be surprised. And then there'll be people out there that just won't care. That's just the way it is. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see the reaction. All right, because I think everybody was pretty happy with Chris and Lee being on every Friday night with me. I think that went down very well. So this one should go down very well, hopefully. Yeah, I'm guessing God loves a trier. Well, you can stop your guessing because I ain't messing. You're not going to find out. You're not going to find out. I've even gotten the person to not say anything. I've sworn them to secrecy. So they may or may not be in the chat. So we'll just leave it at that. Yeah. Anyway, we'll be back again soon. And don't forget, we will be back definitely Friday night anyway for Friday night contact with myself, Lee, and Chris. And of course, we'll have plenty to talk about, including Falma. Can't wait to talk about that. Also, a little bit more about DC. Not much going on, but there's still a little bit going on there. And obviously, again, as I said, another week, more celebrities have just dropped like flies. We also will be talking about Jamie Lee Curtis and her comments on Twitter, or idiotic comment on Twitter. And we'll be talking about that in a little bit more detail, and why old timers like Jamie Lee Curtis and these older actors all of a sudden are coming out with these ridiculous statements, and we're going to talk about why they're so desperate to remain relevant. So yeah, we've got that. And we will have plenty of other stuff to talk about, including The Mandalorian. The trailer dropped for that. I don't know if you have seen the trailer, but I was pretty impressed with the trailer. I've got to be honest, I'm excited for The Mandalorian. It's the only Star Wars show that I'm actually looking forward to. So Mandalorian is back soon. It's coming back in March. And also, I want to talk about this an upcoming movie that I want to talk about. It's Gerard Butler. He plays a pilot, and he's playing close down on this island. And then I mean, I love these type of movies, right? Because they're so dumb. But apparently, he's a pilot, but he's been separated from his passengers have been kidnapped or something. And now remember, he's a pilot. But all of a sudden, he thinks he's G.I. Joe, and he's going to go and rescue these passengers. So he's in an I love airplane movies. I love those type of movies. Ridiculous. I mean, Air Force One is absolutely ridiculous, but it's fun. So I'm actually looking forward to that. So I want to talk a little bit about that as well. Also, Chucky 3 has also been announced for another season. The same with Wednesday, and of course, Halloween Ends. Chris actually watched it, and he said it wasn't as bad as he thought it was going to be, but he does have opinions on it. So I'm pretty sure, because I seen Lindsay's comment there, I'm pretty sure Chris will let you all know what he thought of Halloween Ends. But to him, with his Twitter post, he said it wasn't as bad as everybody made it out to be or something, and they shouldn't have framed it really as a Michael Myers movie. I think that's what his complaint was, but I'm pretty sure he'll go into a lot more detail on that, because, you know, that's what we do on Friday Night Contact. We talk about stuff in Hollywood and all over and beyond. And here's another one, which I found kind of quite out there. So Nicholas Lunkhurst, who played Rodney in Only Fools and Horses, has been cast in the Cheers reboot alongside what's his face? I can never. What's his name? Kelsey Kelsey Grammer, is it? I can never get his name. Grammer, is it? Yeah, I think that's the name. Crammer. I feck him. Anyway, I found that a bit unusual. So we'll talk a little bit about that because you know what, I actually think Nicholas is a great actor, and I think you know, eh, obviously people that love comedy will, and if you love British comedy, you'll know who I'm talking about. He's a great actor. He was also in Good Night, Sweetheart, wasn't it? Good Night was it Good Night, Sweetheart? That show where it was like a time travel thing, wasn't it, or something like that? I never actually really watched it. I watched a couple of episodes of it, and he was pretty decent in that as well. Um, so I think it's great casting, but it's a bit left field there. I wonder how that's gonna, man. I didn't see that coming. But a Cheers reboot, what? Yeah, but it's coming back with the original cast, I think, and then a few additions. So I don't. I mean, they're calling it a reboot, but I don't. Maybe it's not an actual reboot, but we'll obviously when we cover it on Friday, I will obviously be up to date with it because I will read the articles on it. So don't worry, I will let you know on Friday what the actual hell is going on. And of course, we will have to talk about Gotham Knights as well. I watched that trailer. It was a show that I was actually going to give a go, but after watching that trailer now, I could tell you, even Cheryl watched the trailer with me. She said it looked awful, and it did look awful. So we will be talking about that as well. So we got loads to talk about, absolutely loads to talk about Friday Night Contact. So come and join us for that. And as I said, it's going to be an interesting one, and Chris will obviously keep his. I'll give his. I'll obviously ask him to talk about Halloween Ends, and we'll see where everybody stands on it. But there you go. That's it, really. So yeah. So that's 9 o'clock on Friday, folks. So come and join us. Right. Good night. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Look after yourselves. Take care. And yeah, Stranger Things is coming. Yeah, well, I gave up on that show. I don't know if I should go back now and reinvest and watch again, but I gave up on that show. And once I kind of give up on a show, it's very hard for me to go back. But you never know. You never know. I've done it with old shows. I've went back and watched, and I've actually started to enjoy them more than I enjoyed originally. So, you know, I may give it another go. I may. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Anyway, we'll leave it there, folks, for tonight. Have a good one. I'll see you soon. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And yeah, that's it for me for now. I'll see you later, folks. This has been the Tardis Zone Talks. And the next time you see us, I'll be here with my new co host. Have a good one.